The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, welcome all. Last office hours of Coleman certified SBA 7A loan underwriting training. Nathaniel Booker, thank you for joining us. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Hey, I appreciate your being stealth, your feedback. I think it's added. I appreciate that. We got a lot to cover. For those of you joining the last office hours, let's go ahead and get into it. We got some poll questions. I think they know how to ask questions now, if they don't. Would you approve the loan for Franklin Brothers as presented? Yes. Yes, but I want some additional terms. And no, I'm going to turn it down. Nathaniel, Franklin Brothers is a rocket science company. They do stuff for the new Orion mission. They're tinkerers. The machine shops is a third generation is starting to come up. We're buying them some commercial property. And everyone says they're going to approve it as is. So obviously I have no issues with that. Good job. Second poll question. Regarding the $100,000 for leasehold improvements, would you disperse this as working capital or as construction proceeds? Nathaniel, the way that I wrote the case is we need $100,000 in the new building. And I made it a little gray in terms of should they put it into working capital or should they just go ahead and call it what it is, construction. And I said, but these guys are rocket scientists. They know what they do. Out of a $2.5 million package, Nathaniel, what would you have done?
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee
Hold on,
in
let me-
listen-only mode.
Okay. 100,000. Hold on, I'm getting feedback.
Yeah,
here.
you got feedback. All right, well, you just turn down your speakers, Nathaniel. I think that's the issue.
I did.
All right, there you go.
I
Can you
did.
hear us? Okay, here's the deal. $2.5 million package. $2 million is going to be an eligible passive company. $500,000 to the company directly. I have $100,000 for leasehold improvements, and I want to know: are you going to do it as working capital, so I don't have to deal with all those SBA requirements? Or are we going to go and be a little anal, and we're going to control the proceeds, or we want to at least dress it that way? What would you have done, Nathaniel?
Well, I believe that what you cited earlier, that they're engineers or scientists and they know what they're doing. I don't think they're going to take the funds and go to Las Vegas and try to improve on their eyes and improve the cash flow. I would keep it simple.
Keep it simple. One-third
yeah.
of you agree with Nathaniel. 2/3 of it would go construction. Either way is fine, and I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. Third poll question. Regarding the guarantee for Michael Franklin's spouse, Nathaniel, the way we structured the case study is Franklin's brothers. Michael Franklin owns all the stock. The wife does not own any stock in the company. Let's assume that he owned the stock. Then they got married. It's a $2.5 million loan. Are we going to require for her full guarantee, full amount of loan? We're going to limit the guarantee to the equity in the house, which is owned by both of them. Or we're going to limit the guarantee to the SBA's 85% collateral calculation value on the house. What would you do, Nathaniel?
I limit the guarantee to the equity in the house.
Everybody is on the same page on that. Yes. The purpose of the case study is, yes, we can have a limited guarantee. That's what I want to hammer home. But you can require the full amount if you wish. We talked about Franklin Brothers this week. We did the credit memo. I hope you enjoyed the exercise from that standpoint. We talked about loan authorizations. We talked about loan agreements. Nathaniel, the advice I said in the class is unless you require loan agreements on your conventional loans similar to this, I wouldn't do a loan agreement on an SBA loan unless you are willing to call that loan. How do you feel about that advice?
Okay, can you repeat that? I'm going to speak with a cell phone. Can you say it again, please?
Sure. The issue is loan agreements and SBA loans. My advice is unless you're willing to call the loan and the loan's current, if you're going to call it for a violation of the loan covenant, I wouldn't do it. What's your advice?
I agree.
Short and simple. I love it. What do we got?
I agree.
What do we got next? We have a lot of questions. Can you size this? I can't read that. Okay, we have a citizenship question. Mother is E2 treaty status. I have no idea what that is. I guess it renews every 2 years. Daughter is a citizen. Daughter has legal permanent resident status. They are operating a business and want to open up 2 more businesses. The mother at this time is 100% owner of the company. They are in the process of adding the daughters as owners. They're working on the ownership to be a third each. This loan would be the startup of 2 new businesses. The change of ownership is something the family has been working on prior for us coming to the loan. Questions. With the ownership changing to the 2 daughters, for the majority ownership total is 67%. This will allow the business to be eligible on the condition of ownership at least 50% owned by LPR or citizens, correct? I would say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Would the change of ownership in the SOP apply here since they are working on this now and we're just starting to look at the request for the loan? I don't think a change of ownership issue is an issue in this, Nathaniel, because we are not dropping someone off as a guarantor. Usually what they are looking for is you want to have a change of ownership where we are dropping someone as a guarantor because of a character issue, because of a 9/12 issue. I don't believe that applies in this situation. Am I right?
I concur.
All right. So, good question. I like the question. Question number 2. One of the things we've gone over in your underwriting training class is how important documenting the equity injection is. We currently have a loan in the works for a borrower who is purchasing a building. They currently lease. The injection per the lender is $200,000 worth of rent paid, notated in the lease agreement and in the option to purchase. So we have an option to purchase. The purchase sale agreement shows the $200,000 credit, but I feel like more documentation should be obtained. My thought is that we should at least get copies of the canceled lease payment checks totaling $200,000. We went back and forth on this week. My initial reaction to the question was that this is not equity injection. This is a 100% financing. We found out, let's call it $1 million, that the building was worth, was being purchased for $1 million and the loan was for $800,000. And I said it's 100% financing. What's your take on that, Nathaniel?
Well, in the past, I know that this would be considered an equity injection, okay, for the purposes of documentation. From a collateral standpoint,
Well, let me give you more
well,
information.
I would treat it as I would look at it as an equity injection.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me tell you how
I would look at it.
Yeah, let me tell you how we ended up with this. The appraisal did come back. The appraisal came back at over $1 million. So that was interesting. What I believe the lender is going to do, and we said, this is such a gray area. First of all, you do need to get copies of the canceled checks, but I said if you want to be absolutely 100% sure about eligibility, send it to Citrus Heights as a GP loan. I believe that's what the lender is going to do.
Yeah, when you said $1 million, that was the purchase price. Am I correct?
Well, purchase price is $1 million. They're giving him $200,000 credit from lease, so the loan is for $800,000.
Okay.
But the appraisal came in over $1 million. So there's a way to make this loan work. It's just make sure you're SBA compliant. I think I would have gone the route of $800,000. I would just call it 100% financing, an $800,000 loan, and call it 100% financing. And we had the appraisal that came in at 1.1, and then give them the backstory that there was an option to purchase, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's why the amount was reduced. I think that's what I would have done.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons when you asked me the question, I was going to respond on the collateral aspect of it, but I didn't have the information until you.
Well, I did that on purpose to trip you up.
Okay. But you know where I was going from a tenant perspective. We still protected.
These are questions. We did a webinar this week on credit memos. These are some questions I thought were interesting. We'll go through them real quick. How do you prove there is sufficient working capital for 12 months? Is there a typical calculation that is used? This is where I was addressing the working capital adequacy test. Nathaniel, I said the SOP is very specific. It's code that the underwriter has to make a statement that we think there is adequate working capital for this loan for 12 months. I said that's code. Really should be 18 months for Inspector General possible review. There is no calculation. It's an affirmative statement. You said, I've looked at the working capital, I've looked at the ratios, I believe there's sufficient working capital to operate this business for the next 12 to 18 months, and we went into that very much in depth at Franklin Brothers. 2, if the spouse is not a guarantor, can we count the income as part of the global cash flow of the guarantors? And I said, yes. I said, you can put that in. How do you feel about that, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I agree, because it is going to be part. It's going to be the same pot. Yes,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, I give him credit. I'm not going to give him credit for the cash flow of the company, but I'll give him global cash flow for the guarantor. 3, what is the best place to obtain intent interpretation guidance and SBA eligibility when it's not clear, it's contradictory? I believe we've answered that. Citrus Heights, submitted GP. If you have, especially on these larger loans, $2 million, $3 million, $1 million plus, if you're asking the question of the eligibility issue, I'd have SBA sign off on it, absolutely. Address historical add-backs using new owner projections that may have what appear to be reasonable differences. You are the final arbiter. We understand sometimes we're not dealing with sophisticated borrowers. We're not going to be bullied by a business development officer to add back, by a loan broker to do add backs. If we're not comfortable with it, we're not going to do it. The silent pause is for you to jump in, Nathaniel.
Well, I'm looking at using. I agree with you, Bob.
4, are we required to obtain IRS forms 4506 on all personal guarantees? I would say it all. I guess if we have a personal guarantee where we don't have a tax return, but I don't know how that would happen. I would say yes.
Yeah, anytime you have a tax return, that's the key. You should have a.
But we're not going to have a guarantee. Would we ever have a situation where we have a guarantor without their tax return? I don't.
Well, I feel the value of a guarantee is based upon. Are there going to be personal financial statements attached to the guarantee?
I would assume if I'm taking a personal guarantee, I need to have a tax return and a personal financial statement.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I would.
Yeah.
You're going to have a tax. So it answers his own question. I mean, you're going to have a person. Anytime you have a personal tax return,
Right.
You should have the 4506.
And the answer.
And if you're requiring a tax return with a personal guarantee, that goes without saying.
And we definitely need the 1919 on all owners of guarantees. Yes, we need the 1919. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good. Final exam is up. It's posted. Has anybody completed it yet? Do we know? Congratulations to. We're not sure. Whoever's completed it, congratulations. Send me an email send it to me or Joseph for a physical address, and we will get your plaque out to you. I've appreciated your comments. Regarding the credit memo, there was a question of what format it is. That's your call. You can use your bank template. It's yours. And if you go the credit memo route in lieu of the final exam, I'm more interested. I'm not looking for the full-blown report. I'm more interested in structure. Give me a little history. That's important to me. Give me a little bit of it. I don't need to know the full thing, but go as much as you want. I'm more interested in how you're going to structure the loan, presentation on that. Nathaniel, thank you very much for joining us. You've added a lot to the course. Thank you all for those of you who have logged in office hours. A couple things. Number one, I'm going to be starting a general office hours sometime on Thursday for all of our online training classes. Lance and I will be there whenever I can wrangle Nathaniel. You are extend the invitation. You are more than welcome to join that. When we rerun credit underwriting, which we'll do in a couple of months, you're more than welcome to join in office hours. If you see our offering of that, just shoot me an email and say, hey, I'd like to be part of that. We will be happy to sign you up for that. And it's been a fun adventure. I hope it's been a worthwhile event for you, and I hope you've learned a lot. And with that, this concludes the final session of office hours for the Coleman Certified SBA 7A Underwriting Training. Thank you all very much.